There is no such thing as the factory pattern. There are 3 of them. They are genuinely different, and interviewers know that most candidates cannot tell them apart, which is exactly why they asked. Simple factory is not even in the Gang of 4 book. Factory method is a pattern about inheritance. Abstract factory is a pattern about families of related objects. Say factory method when you mean abstract factory, and you have just told the room you learned this from a blog post. So we are going to separate them properly with a running example. A payment system that needs to create Stripe, PayPal, and Apple Pay processors, and by the end you will be able to name which one you are looking at, justify which one you would choose, and, just as importantly, explain when all 3 are over-engineering and you should just call new. Start with what is actually wrong. Your checkout code says, new Stripe processor, and that one line has done something worse than you think. Your checkout is now welded to Stripe, not to the idea of a payment processor, to Stripe, the concrete class at compile time. So when you add PayPal, you edit checkout, add Apple Pay, edit checkout again, and your checkout code fills up with an if-else chain about payment providers, which is not what checkout is for. Worse, you cannot test it. To unit test checkout, you now need Stripe, because checkout constructs Stripe itself, and you were never given a chance to substitute anything. And there is a design principle behind all of this, worth naming, depend on abstractions, not concretions. Your checkout should depend on the payment processor interface, but the moment you write new followed by a concrete class name, you have depended on a concretion, and no amount of interfaces elsewhere in a file will save you. So somebody still has to call new. Objects do not create themselves. The question the factory patterns answer is not whether to call new. It is where and who is allowed to know about it. Concept 1. Simple factory, which is not a real pattern and is the one you will use most. Simple factory is the one everybody writes. You take the if-else chain out of your checkout and you put it in one place, a class with a method that takes a string or an enum, switches on it, and returns the right concrete processor behind a common interface. And you should know that this is not in the Gang of 4 book. Purists will tell you it is not a design pattern at all. It is just a programming idiom, and they are technically right. It is also, by a wide margin, the one you will write most often in real code. So let us be honest about what it buys you and what it does not. What it buys, the knowledge of which concrete classes exist, is now in exactly one place. So adding Apple Pay means touching one file instead of 9. Your checkout depends only on the interface. It is testable, because you can hand check out a fake factory. What it does not buy, adding a new type still means editing the factory's switch statement. So you have not eliminated the change, you have localized it. And that is a genuine, real improvement. But notice it technically violates the open-close principle, which says a class should be open for extension and closed for modification, and you are modifying it every time. That gap is precisely what factory method exists to close. Concept 2. Factory method, the real Gang of 4 one, and it is about inheritance. Factory method is a different idea entirely, and here is the definition worth memorizing. Define an interface for creating an object, but let subclasses decide which class to instantiate. The creation is deferred than the inheritance hierarchy. Concretely, you have an abstract payment service class. It has a method, process order, which contains the whole workflow: validate the order, create a processor, charge the card, send a receipt. That workflow is written once in the base class, and in the middle of it, it calls an abstract method, create processor, which the base class does not implement. Then Stripe Payment Service extends it and implements create processor to return a Stripe processor. PayPal Payment Service extends it and returns a PayPal one. So the base class controls the algorithm, and the subclass controls which object gets built. Notice what changed relative to simple factory. There is no switch statement anywhere. Adding a new provider means adding a new subclass and modifying nothing, which is the open-close principle satisfied properly. And notice something else, which is the observation that makes you sound like you actually understand this. Factory method is template method, with the hook being object creation. Same shape, same inheritance, same deferral to subclasses. The only difference is what the hook returns. Concept 3. Abstract factory, the big one, and the one people misname. Abstract factory answers a different question again, and the key word is family. It provides an interface for creating families of related objects without specifying their concrete classes. So think about our payment system, but bigger. Stripe does not just give you a processor. It gives you a processor and a refund handler and a webhook validator and a subscription manager. And PayPal gives you its own four. And here's the critical constraint. You must never mix them. A Stripe processor with a PayPal refund handler is not a working system. It is a bug that will take you a day to find. So you define an abstract payment provider factory with 4 creation methods: create processor, create refund handler, create webhook validator, create subscription manager. And then Stripe factory implements all 4 returning Stripe objects, and PayPal factory implements all 4 returning PayPal objects. Now your application holds one factory, and every object it gets from that factory is guaranteed to be from the same family. Consistency is enforced by the type system, not by a comment or by hoping. That is the entire point of abstract factory, and it is the thing simple factory and factory method do not do. The classic textbook example is cross-platform UI, a Windows factory making Windows buttons and Windows checkboxes, a Mac factory making Mac ones. But the payment example is a better one, because it is a problem you might actually have. Concept 4. The comparison. This slide is the reason to watch this episode. 3 patterns, 3 questions. Simple factory. How do I get the switch statement out of my business logic? It is one class with one method that takes a parameter and returns one product. Adding a type means editing that method. It is not a gang of 4 pattern, and it is the most common thing in real code. Factory method. How do I let a subclass decide which object my algorithm creates? It is inheritance. There is no parameter, no switch. The subclass is the choice. It creates one product. And adding a type means adding a subclass and changing nothing. Abstract factory. How do I make sure a whole family of objects all come from the same vendor? It is composition. You hold a factory object. It creates several related products, and switching families means swapping one object at the top of your application. So, one product versus many products, that is factory method versus abstract factory. And inheritance versus a parameter, that is factory method versus simple factory. Say those 2 distinctions out loud in an interview, and you have separated yourself immediately. Because the single most common failure on this topic is a candidate describing simple factory and calling it factory method. Concept 5. The 4th thing called factory that is none of the above. There is a 4th usage of the word, and it will trip you up if you have not thought about it. A static factory method is just a static method on a class that returns an instance of the class, instead of using a constructor. This is not the gang of 4 factory pattern at all. Nothing is being deferred to a subclass and no family is being enforced. It is a way of creating instances of your own class, and Joshua Block's effective Java opens with it as item number 1. Which tells you it matters. So, why prefer it over a constructor? 4 reasons. It has a name. Duration of seconds is self-documenting, whereas new duration of a long is a guess. It can return a cadet instance rather than constructing a new one every time. Would it evaluate integer W does for small numbers? It can return a subtype. The declared return type can be an interface, while the actual object is some private implementation, which lets you hide your entire class hierarchy, and it lets you have several creation methods with the same parameter types, which constructors cannot. You cannot have 2 constructors that both take 2 doubles, but you can have from Cartesian and from Polar. It is a genuinely useful tool, and it is worth knowing that when a Java developer says factory method, they are, more often than not, talking about this and not about the gang of 4 pattern. Concept 6. Where dependency injection eats most of this, and where it does not. Be honest about this one, because it is where a lot of pattern teaching is stuck in 1994. A dependency injection container is, fundamentally, a giant configurable factory. It knows how to construct your objects, it wires their dependencies, it manages their lifetimes, and it hands them to you. So in a Spring application, most of the reasons you would have written a factory have already been handled. You just declare the dependency in your constructor and the container provides it. And which concrete implementation you get is a configuration decision, not a code decision. So, when do you still write a factory by hand? 3 real cases. 1. The decision is made at runtime from data. The user chose PayPal at checkout, and no container can know that at startup, So you inject a factory, and you asked for the right processor when the request arrives. That is the most common legitimate use, by far. 2. You need many short-lived instances. A container gives you one shared instance by default. If you need a fresh object per request or per row, you inject a factory and call it repeatedly. 3. Construction is genuinely complicated. It needs values you only have at runtime, or it involves real logic. So, not obsolete, but far narrower than the books suggest. And the sentence to say is, the container handles construction I can decide at startup. I write a factory when the choice depends on runtime data. Concept 7. The trap, because factories are where clever engineers do real damage. Enterprise Java earned its reputation partly here, and the joke about the abstract factory being exists because somebody really did write it. So let us be clear about when a factory is pure ceremony. If there is only one implementation and no realistic prospect of a second, a factory adds a file, an interface, an indirection, and zero value. Just call new. If your factory is a switch statement over an enum that you wrote once and have never touched, it is not buying you flexibility. It is buying you the feeling of flexibility, and those are different things. If your die container could have made this decision at startup, let it. And if you need to open 3 files to find out what class is actually being constructed, you have made the code harder to read in exchange for a flexibility nobody has ever used. The rule I would defend: introduce the factory at the second implementation, not in anticipation of it. The cost of adding a factory later, when you actually need it, is genuinely low. It is a mechanical refactor your IDE will do most of. The cost of a wrong abstraction, built speculatively and then bent to fit a second case it was never designed for, is very high. Speculative generality is one of the most expensive mistakes in software, and factories are its favorite hiding place. Concept 8. Where you have already been using these without noticing. These are not academic. They are all over the code you use every day, and being able to point at them is a very good interview move. Calendar.getInstance in Java returns a different calendar subclass depending on your locale. The caller asks for a calendar and gets a Gregorian one or a Buddhist one without knowing. That is a factory doing meal work. Document Builder Factory and the whole XML parsing API is abstract factory in the standard library. You get a factory, and everything it produces is consistent with itself. Executors.nufix thread pool and its siblings are static factory methods hiding a genuinely complicated thread pool executor constructor behind a name that tells you what you are getting. Spring's Bean Factory is a factory, and the name is not a coincidence. It is the root of the entire container. Logfactory.getLog in most logging frameworks decides which logging implementation you actually get at runtime. And in the JDBC world, driver manager.connection is a factory that returns a connector whose depends entirely on the URL you passed. Point at any of those in an interview and you have shown you recognize the pattern in the wild, which is a much stronger signal than reciting a UML diagram. Concept 9. The 4 questions and the sentences that answer them. 4 questions. 1. What is the factory pattern? Do not answer that directly. Correct it. Say, there are 3 things people call factory, and they are different. Simple factory is a switch in one class and is not a gang of 4 pattern. Factory method uses inheritance to let a subclass choose the class to instantiate. Abstract factory creates a whole family of related objects that must be consistent with each other. That opening will get their attention immediately. 2. Factory method versus abstract factory. One product versus a family of products. Inheritance versus composition. In factory method, the subclass is the choice. In abstract factory, you hold a factory object and swap it. 3. When would you not use a factory? When there is one implementation and no second one coming, when the die container can make the decision at startup, or when it is speculative generality. Introduce the factory at the second implementation, not before. 4. Give a real example. Calendar.getInstance, Document Builder Factory, Executors.nufix thread pool, Driver Manager.getConnection, and the meta answer, which is the one that actually distinguishes you. The value of a factory is not that it creates objects. Everything creates objects. It is that it moves the knowledge of which concrete class exists to exactly one place, so the rest of your code can depend on an abstraction. Once you can say that, you know why the pattern exists rather than just what it looks like. Let us put it back together. New is a commitment. It welds your code to a concrete class at compile time, and factories exist to move that commitment somewhere it belongs. Simple factory pulls the switch statement into one class. It is not a gang of 4 pattern, and it is what you will write most. Factory method uses inheritance, so a subclass chooses what gets built. No switch open for extension, and it is template method with creation as the hook. Abstract factory creates a whole family of related objects and uses the type system to stop you mixing vendors. One product versus a family, inheritance versus composition. That is how you tell the last two apart. Static factory methods are a fourth, separate thing, and they are what a Java developer usually means. Your die container is already a factory, so write one by hand only when the choice depends on runtime data, and introduce it at the second implementation, not in anticipation of one. Next in this series, the builder pattern. Subscribe!